Good afternoon, everyone. I said that I would pop on and talk about what we do at my house for language arts, and I want to do that. It's been kind of a crazy day here. I don't know what happened. It's like Monday. But I wanted to do that for a couple of reasons. Language arts is this huge, enormous topic, and everybody realized yesterday in our call that there's so many different options, and we didn't even scratch the surface of the multitude of options there are for teaching reading, writing, language, phonics, literature, grammar, spelling, vocabulary, all those things. We didn't even scratch the surface yesterday talking about that. But I wanted to tell you from my perspective how I make those decisions, and specifically as it relates to language arts, just as an example, because I think that what happens in my mind could be applied to any homeschooling curriculum decision that you make, maybe. And it could work for you, but it might not. Remember, there's no guarantee here. My family is different than your family, but I did want to share what works for me so that if it might work for you, you can consider. So background is that I was a language arts teacher before children. So I taught 11th grade American literature 1 year, and then I taught a 7th grade language arts year and an 8th grade language arts year. I actually followed the same group of kids, which was kind of cool. But kind of not cool because it was a public school and I ended up, with a concussion, and that was bad. So, just one little reason why I wanted to homeschool. But one of the things that I learned in teaching middle school language arts in particular was that it didn't matter what my kids had been taught up to that point. Whatever I was teaching them was beneficial and was helping them move forward. So if their reading comprehension was low, then we just worked to improve it. And if their composition skills were low, then we just worked to improve it. And there were so many different facets of language arts that I realized the thing that I could do was I could work with the kids who wanted to work, who were willing to work, who wanted to grow or learn in some way. But the kids that hated it, the kids that really didn't want to have anything to do with reading a book, and it was pulling teeth to get them to read just a short story, those were the kids that couldn't progress. And, that was not all their fault. There are many factors that go into that. They, who knows what happened from K through 6 till they got to my classroom. But I did realize that it wasn't so crucial that the K through 6 plan follow a very specific progression with language arts. They got to learn how to read. They got to learn how to write words. Beyond that, writing sentences, spelling things correctly, reading comprehension, all of those skills could make leaps and bounds progression in 1 year. So that has colored how I choose what I'm going to do with my kids for language arts. I realize that as long as they have positive experiences with books, with reading, with writing, that no matter where they are down the road, they are going to be able to progress. At least that's what I learned. So, the way I choose materials is very specifically, I focus in on learning to read and printing their letters. Very concrete. We don't do much else. We read tons of stories all the time, from the time they're like birth until they leave the home, and probably when they come back to visit, we'll still be reading aloud. But focusing on a reading program and a handwriting program that did not cause tears was essential to me. If there's ever a situation where my kid's upset over something, we walk away from that. Maybe it's for the day, maybe it's for a month. It's been longer sometimes with reading programs where we just have to stop and take a long break. Because for me, I could see in those middle school students that if they had trauma related to language arts, or if they had just bad opinion of reading and writing, then I couldn't do much with them. I could not make them progress, right? So love of learning, love of that is what is key for me for choosing the material. And there's lots of curriculum options for teaching kids to read and write that are beautiful. We talked about some on the call yesterday. There's dozens more, and they all work. There's not one necessarily you have to choose. You have a kid with special needs, there's a few programs that are going to work better for them than others. But in general, you just pick something and you do your best to present it in a loving, positive way. That's one of the reasons I do not do formal spelling or grammar until their reading is solid. We don't mess with any of that. We start formal spelling, about fourth grade, using copywork and dictation through Spelling Wisdom. Again, I don't care what spelling program you use, kids need to learn how to spell. There's a million programs out there that all work well, but I think there's benefit in delaying it for the kid that just is struggling a little. You know, they read, and we want them to love the reading. And if we're harping them, and they write, we want them to love the writing. And if we're harping on them about spelling every word right and all those things too early, then we're going to crush their love of reading, or at least their positive vibe about reading. You know, not everybody's going to just love it. But when I taught and saw those middle schoolers that just were not going to try, it was usually based on just negative emotions. Okay, so I push off spelling until about fourth grade when their reading is solid. They're reading easy chapter books. Before that, I don't touch it. I push off grammar until middle school. When I was a teacher, I learned through research, brain-based research that we were studying as educators, that grammar concepts are an abstract thought process similar to algebra. We don't truly dive into algebra until the kids reach prepubescence, when they are starting puberty in that tween middle school age, because their brain is not capable of making those abstract thoughts make sense. Same thing goes for grammar. You can, you dabble in it. You talk about the principles. Oh yeah, that sentence doesn't have a verb, so it's not quite a sentence. A verb is an action word. And we say those things when we're just writing and having fun together and learning and whatever. But I don't use a grammar program until 6th or 7th grade. At that point, I do use analytical grammar. But again, it's not so much the material that I choose as much as it is waiting until the child is ready to do that kind of work. You might have a kid who loves that kind of stuff early on. Start earlier if they love it. But I wouldn't force it. That's why I make those decisions to wait. And the two programs that I mentioned, Spelling Wisdom is designed to start in 4th grade, and Analytical Grammar is designed to start in 6th or 7th grade. So it's age appropriate, and it's not like I'm saying you're going to start with a 1st grade grammar book in 6th grade. But you could do that. That's fine as well. It just doesn't, it worked better for us this way. So then the flip side of that, we do the reading. They're learning to read. We're not getting too antsy. They're doing, they have to practice handwriting through copywork. So we start with handwriting without tears, with printing and cursive. And they've pretty much done that before they start their spelling book, because our spelling is copywork. So they have to have an established pattern of good handwriting that I can read to get there. So that's a progression for us, is doing copywork. And then writing comes out of that. So most of what we do at our house until like 5th grade or so is just oral language. We read stories, we talk about the stories. They read stories, they narrate back to me. They tell me what happened. Narration is a tool that you can research that's incredibly effective in developing children who can write. It's incredibly difficult for kids to get thoughts from their head onto paper in words, in sentences, until they reach a certain developmental stage, and it's different for every kid. So make sure that you take that into consideration. If they really can't do that, then I write it for them. They tell me the story, I write it down. I might have them copy it if I want it to be in their writing. But all of these decisions that I make are based on, I want them to love language. I want them to love telling me stories. They come in from outside and tell me the thing that they found in the backyard, and they're telling that story. That's a precursor to writing. That's a precursor to writing a story, to writing an essay about what they did that week. All of those oral conversations that we have. So we like the Brave Writer lifestyle because it really encourages a lot of those activities that stimulate conversation, narration, discussion, and then just fun writing. We try to keep it fun really all the way till, I don't do anything formal related, like essay or anything until 7th or 8th grade. And then we start to dabble in that. I know by 3rd grade in some schools, they're expected to know how to write a persuasive paper and a descriptive paper, little essay. I just don't go into that. If I help them develop language, I help them develop their writing style. Before that, we write descriptions and we write persuasive things, but it's not a formula or essay at that point. But some kids do need that. Some kids do need a formula or something to copy that they're going to write, and that's fine if they're loving it and feeling positive about it. If they're not, I would dial back. I really think reading and writing are lifelong skills that are so essential. And like I said, all this could apply to other subjects, right? Religion, if they're hating it, are they going to love the faith? Science, if they're hating it, then are they going to always hate it? Not that we have to make everything fun and it always has to be just super enjoyable, but I'm talking about daily tantrums, daily tears, like I can't do this anymore kind of thing. We have to find ways to make it palatable for our kids. And I think that would makes the difference in them getting to middle school or high school and then being able to pick up in a course. So my kids do a high school writing course through Homeschool Connections it's 2 full years. And they just do so well because they have formed they're okay with writing. Writing is not horrible. And then I show them that this is a form of academic writing that they have to learn for high school and college. And they're amenable to that. They're like, okay, we could do that. And they already have the skills of being able to write well, write descriptively, use good words, those kinds of things. So again, this can apply to anything, but I wanted to share our progression and the decisions that we made so that you understand where I'm coming from when I say those things. Because it doesn't mean you should wait till middle school to do grammar. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have them write an essay in 3rd grade. It means that the focus of reading and writing in language should be a positive experience. And it helps mom not to stress out and worry that she's not doing enough, to know if we have positive experiences and they're in 10th grade and all of a sudden you realize they didn't learn how to write a persuasive essay, then they're going to have had positive experiences to build upon, and they're going to learn it really fast. They really are. Once they get to that middle school, high school, they're just picking up stuff. It comes a lot more naturally when they already have a core competency and positive thoughts about that experience. In my experience, both as a classroom teacher and now as a mom. So I've seen that bear fruit in the decisions that I've made throughout with my kids. And I have 2 high schoolers. I think they're doing great. They both love to write. They're part of a writing club that meets monthly and shares their stories with one another out loud in a group of teenagers. It's bizarrely cool. They read all the time. We read all the time as a family. They get excited when I read Winnie the Pooh to the younger ones. They want to listen. I mean, for us it works because I focus on what's going to be positive for them and for me. If I hate it, it's not going to be a good experience. So that's what I wanted to share today, was my kind of language arts, why I pick all these things and what I learned as a teacher and have applied to our homeschool and how it's working for us. So I hope that you guys, as you sort through all these options and you're looking at all the too many choices, that you can kind of find some peace in knowing that as long as what we're doing is positive, then it will be an effective education for the long term, and my kids are going to be able to fill in any gaps when they get a little bit older, as long as they have the foundation. So God bless you guys. I hope that your day is not a second Monday like mine has been, and that we can continue to chat about these things in the next couple of weeks. Oh, and I'm seeing alerts just now. Sarah was here, and Selena and Joanna, and thank you guys for popping in, and we will see you guys another time.